Unfortunately, 2024 was not a good year for Mike in the Woods, and when it comes to next year, I'm really not optimistic, unfortunately. For well over a year now, my channel has been relatively static in the amount of daily views I get, which I know you guys don't care too much about the behind-the-scenes performance type stuff, but that has a direct translation into the amount of money I have available to me to put into new projects, like DIY builds of like my electric snowboard and stuff like that. And that's exactly why you haven't seen me do any cool new DIY builds lately. And on top of that, I've just had so many failed trips and so many malfunctions with my electric skateboards on these trips that it just, for the first time in a long time, I got extremely burnt out, and I didn't make videos for like almost 2 months. It is really exceedingly rare for me to get to that point. Usually I get run down for a couple days and then I bounce right back. I got very close to throwing in the towel. Very close. However, I did manage to bounce back, and I'm very thankful that I did. And I've actually managed to come out with a few relatively banger videos over the last couple months. But overall, when it comes to the channel at large, it hasn't really moved the needle much. And I know every time I make these update videos, I'm like, oh, this past year was bad, but this coming year will be the year of Mike in the Woods. Oh, this coming year we'll do great things and build all kinds of cool stuff and buy all kinds of cool EVs. And I think that optimism has finally been beaten out of me. I think I've just accepted that Mike in the Woods as a channel is just going to be small potatoes, at least for the near future. Which is fine, I'm okay with that. I love making videos, I'm not going to stop, but when it comes to stuff that I'm putting money into in an attempt to grow the channel, stuff like all the cool DIY builds that I was working on, like the GT Land Racer project, or an EV to start building an overlanding rig with, I have to put a pause on those, at least for the near future, until things pick up. And so for the coming year of 2025, the theme is going to be focus on what I have, not what I want. And what this means is more backpacking trips on my electric skateboards, more car camping and road trips and light duty overlanding with my Model 3, which is really starting to look like an adventuring vehicle. And of course, we'll play around with my electric snowboard, we'll play around with my electric dirt surfer, and we definitely need to do more stuff with the electric raft, which I know I've neglected this past year, and I'll get into why that was shortly. And we also have some plans with that VMAX Seeger that was sent to me for review. We're gonna kind of build that up just a little bit. And speaking of that VMAX board, as much as 2024 was a bit of a letdown, the year wasn't without its highlights. It was actually a big year for product sponsorships, where companies send me stuff for me to review. Now, it goes without saying, I don't want to become a sellout channel, but at the same time, accepting these product sponsorships helps me accumulate more gear and more interesting things to do more interesting adventures with, as well as produce some interesting videos for you guys. It's a fine line that I'm trying to straddle so that I only accept ones that have a strong correlation with the whole EV adventuring thing I'm trying to get going on this channel. And so to that end, I actually had quite a few interesting things sent to me this past year. There was that VMAX Seeger entry-level electric skateboard, which will be upgrading with slightly larger treaded wheels and building out into a bit of a gravel rider touring build. I got the second 12-volt 100-amp-hour LFP battery that was needed for my electric raft setup, so we can now do 50 kilometers per day on raft packing trips before I have to charge. We got those roof racks sent to me for the Model 3, so we can now mount some proper road tripping and camping gear up there. I got that All Powers R600 power station, which technically I got right at the end of 2023, but I really didn't get to show it off at all until the very beginning of 2024. And if you've watched any of those videos, I don't shy away from pointing out issues that I have with the things that are sent to me. For example, that power station was having a lot of issues when it came to the wireless charging, which I pointed out in the video, and with the roof racks that were sent to me, the instructions did not match what was actually in the kit a little bit. But even aside from all the product sponsorship type stuff, there was a couple other really interesting things we did this past year. The world's first sodium ion powered electric skateboard build. The battery chemistry, at least in its current state in the cells that I had, were a bit of a letdown when it comes to powering something like an electric skateboard, but as an experiment and a world first, it was something really interesting and something I'm really proud of. And we also got to play around with full self-driving on my Model 3. So what are my plans for the coming year? Well, for one thing, I really want to focus in on trying to attract electric rideable product sponsorships, like that VMAX Seeger electric skateboard that was sent to me, like electric scooters, unicycles, etc., especially really unique ones, and review them from a unique perspective that not everybody else does, because I want to approach them from an adventuring standpoint, but also add to our inventory of electric rideables that I can use on these backpacking trips to make more varied and interesting videos for you. Now, for this past year, you probably noticed that a lot of my adventure videos were somewhat close to home. And there's a reason for that. For this past year, we only had access to the one car, which my wife needed to drive to work and back. Now that we have both cars back on the road, I don't have that limitation anymore. So we're going to be putting a stronger focus on adventures for 2025. Things like going raft packing, which I know I didn't do much of at all this past year, and that is why I needed the car to transport the raft and materials to and from the takeout. We're putting a strong focus on backpacking with electric rideables this coming year, including more coverage of the Trans-Canada Trail. We're going to do the world's first overnight backpacking trip on my electric snowboard. We're going to put a strong focus on electric raft packing once the warm weather hits, especially during summer. We're going to bring the electric dirt surfer out of retirement and do 1 or 2 adventures with that. I'll be trying to blend in more 3D printed gear and gaming content into my adventures as kind of a extra flavor. And maybe, just maybe, there is a remote chance that we might be able to swap out the Leaf for a Fisker Ocean as our base EV overlanding platform towards the end of the year. However, I should note, I'm not very optimistic about that. So for everybody who's stuck with me and enjoys the videos I make, thank you, and I look forward to bringing you on some fun and interesting EV backpacking and camping adventures this coming year. Happy New Year, everyone.